does house hacking actually work? My name is Ben. In 2018, I tried my first house hack. A house hack, if you're not already aware, is buying a multi-family home as your primary residence and using the rental income to compensate for your mortgage. Many people will say that house hacking means living for free, but how true is that? And how experienced do you need to be in investing in real estate to make that work out? And can it work for you? That is the question I'm going to be talking about in this video. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my property, how much it costs me, and how much revenue it brings in. Before I get started, here's a little bit of context for you. This is a home in North Park, San Diego. We bought it in 2018. It has 2 units, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet, and then a studio with 400 square feet. These 2 units are connected. They have separate entries, one in the front and one in the back. There's a garage and a shared backyard space. There's also a basement with washer and dryer and storage. And if you're not familiar with San Diego, North Park is a very central area. It's very exciting. It has great nightlife, especially on the weekends, and it's very close to Balboa Park, which is where the San Diego Zoo is, and a lot of other attractions in the San Diego area. So let's get right into it. I'm going to show you a chart of my revenue and my expenses since 2018. Now, as I put together this information, I had to think about how I wanted to present this. See, one of the benefits of having a 2-unit house hack and using the second unit as a vacation rental is you can use that second unit as a place for your friends and relatives to stay when they come visit you. So if I was to show you my rental income and expenses on a month-by-month basis, you would notice a larger fluctuation based on what's happening in the lives of our family at that time. So what I've done instead is split it up into 6-month intervals, basically summer and winter, or high season and low season. So I hope in doing it that way, I can give you a sense of the big picture. Anyway, here's my chart. It's split up into 4 seasons, as you can see, starting with winter of 2018, then summer 2019, winter 19, and summer 20. I could also split this chart up into 3 sections, with the first section being called I'm doing this for the first time, I'm underestimating the value of my rental, and also my renovation isn't done yet. The middle section called Hire a Professional, and the last section called Coronavirus Ruins Everything. Each of these, I think I can make a different point. Now let's take a look at these bars. Red represents my expenses, blue represents my revenue. So the name of this game is make the blue bar higher than the red bar, or if not, make it as high as possible. To give a little bit more detail, I've also got this chart which shows how those expenses are broken up. Orange represents the payments on my house, my PITI, or principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Gray represents all of my management and maintenance fees. So as you can see, once I go into the hire a professional section, my expenses actually skyrocket, but my PITI, it actually went down because we refinanced after completing our renovation. There are pros and cons about doing a renovation. On the one hand, we ended up with a much nicer house. Having a nicer house means that you can rent it for higher values, and that's good for income. On the other hand, doing a renovation, I sort of see myself placed on a gradient, where one end represents what I want, and the other end represents the highest return. See, the thing with a house hack is you don't win necessarily by making the most money. You win by living the way that you want and being able to afford it. So if you do a renovation and you don't spend some of that money on just doing things purely for your own enjoyment, purely because that's what you find aesthetically pleasing, then you're not really doing the house for you. You're making the house as an investment property. And an investment property in your primary residence, those things should be different. Really, I just want you to be aware that if you're going to buy a house and your intention is to do a house hack, give yourself permission to do a few things just for you, but also take the time to research the things that are going to give you a high return. Anyway, let's go back to talking about expenses. In the summer of 2019, we hired a professional. They stepped in, they looked at what we were charging, and they said, you are charging way too little. They basically increased our nightly rate by about 25 to 40%. Here's the thing though, I didn't hire the professional until August, halfway through the summer of 2019. That studio unit, which is 400 square feet, 25% of the entire living space on our property, paid for 91% of our mortgage, and that doesn't even include what I could have made if I had raised my prices in the early part of summer when I didn't know how much I could have been charging. That's phenomenal. And I was excited for this summer until coronavirus struck and totally wiped out spring break. Anyway, the following winter, the studio made 46% of our monthly expenses. Technically, coronavirus affected us in March, So we could have done a little bit better based on what I've seen so far. And I haven't been collecting data for a very long time yet, so take that for what it's worth. But I do think that our monthly expenses will fluctuate between being 100% and 50% paid off based on this house hack. I also think there are a few takeaways from looking at this graph. First of all, I would have done myself a big favor if I would have done more research on how much I could have charged when I was just starting out. In fact, once I started working with a professional, they told me that if your house is getting booked 2 months in advance, your prices are too low. Really, on a site like Airbnb, you want to see bookings being made about 2 weeks in advance. Any longer than that, and you should take it as a signal that your prices are too low. Another thing worth considering is that section where coronavirus struck us. It's a shame that we didn't make money during that period, but for the purposes of this video, I think it serves as a reality check that you've got to know what you're getting in for. Buying an investment property is a risk. These kinds of things can happen, and you definitely want to buy something where you are in a position where you can pay for it even if you don't have the rent coming in, because stuff happens. So, does house hacking actually work? I would say it absolutely does. In fact, I want to go back to that gradient because house hacking isn't about just making money. It's also about living the life that you want to live, having a home that you really love, and being able to afford that. With house hacking, not only have we had a great property that we love living on, but we also have a place that we can offer to guests whenever they come to stay with us, and that's been a dream for us. And also just renting on Airbnb and meeting the people who come stay in our house has been fun. Anyway, if you have questions about anything that I've talked about, I certainly left out a lot of details, but go ahead and ask them in the comments. I'd love to follow up with another video. My name is Ben, and this channel is Never Been Better. Every week, I make videos about wealth and innovation. If you've enjoyed this one, please subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.